She was once branded the side chick of reality TV, but now, Orion Curry is fighting back. After being called a concubine one too many times, she's breaking her silence with shocking confessions that could destroy Martell Holt's carefully rebuilt image. This isn't just another rant, it's the moment that could flip the entire love and marriage, Huntsville world upside down. What happens when the woman once branded as the spark behind reality TV's most infamous love triangle decides she's had enough? Orion Curry, a name that's shadowed Martell Holt's reputation and dominated gossip headlines for years, has reached her breaking point. After once again being labeled a concubine, she's no longer biting her tongue. Instead, Orion is pushing back with raw emotion, bold accusations, and revelations that could shake the love and marriage Huntsville universe to its core. But here's the question everyone's asking. Is this just another attempt to reclaim attention? Or is it a woman finally refusing to be silenced? Either way, her latest outburst isn't just dramatic, it's explosive enough to destroy reputations and rewrite narratives. Let's unpack it. Orion Curry has always been a lightning rod for controversy. For years, the public has branded her everything from side chick to home. Yet, this latest round of name-calling, being reduced to a concubine, once again seems to have lit a fire in her that's been smoldering for years. What started as a few online jabs quickly escalated into a full-blown war of words, revealing more about her entanglement with Martell Holt than fans ever imagined. In this deep dive, we'll explore how Orion is reclaiming her voice, the shocking claims she's made about Martell and other alleged women in his life, and whether this meltdown is more of a calculated move than a moment of emotional chaos. Because make no mistake, Orion's timing and tone have people wondering if this is strategy disguised as heartbreak. But before we dissect her latest revelations, it's important to rewind, to understand why this moment feels so personal, and why she's reacting so fiercely. We need to look back at where her story began. Before the interviews and tabloid drama, Orion Curry was simply a young woman who fell for a man she believed was genuine. That man happened to be Martell Holt, one half of the polished, successful couple America came to know on OWN's Love and Marriage, Huntsville. To the world, Martell and his then-wife Melody Holt embodied success, family, and ambition. Behind the cameras, though a different story was unfolding, Orion and Martell's relationship began quietly, far from the public eye, at a time when Martell was still married. For Orion, it wasn't a scandal, it was simply a relationship. But when the affair surfaced, it ignited a storm that changed everything. Overnight, she went from private citizen to public villain, a symbol of betrayal for millions of viewers invested in the Holt's seemingly perfect love story. It wasn't just the infidelity that made headlines, it was the emotional wreckage left behind, and Orion's name became the center of it all. It wasn't just the affair that shocked people, it was the endurance of it, the deception woven through it, and the pain it left behind for Melody Holt, a woman whose brand was built on faith, resilience, and transparency. Viewers watched her share her struggles openly, only to see her world unravel in real time. And at the center of it all was Orion Curry, branded by fans as the side chick, the mistress, and more recently, the concubine. Each label carried its own poison, but concubine cut deeper than the rest. It wasn't just a word, it was an indictment. It suggested subservience, shame, and a lack of worth, stripping away her humanity and painting her as nothing more than a pawn in someone else's story. To outsiders, it looked like Orion had chosen this life, a chase for fame, attention, or notoriety. But those who know her insist it wasn't that simple. Her connection to Martell, they say, ran far deeper than anyone could see from the outside. She didn't enter his world with malice or calculation. She fell for a man who made promises he couldn't keep. A man who made her believe in a future that would never exist. In one of her more vulnerable Instagram lives, Orion confessed, "I was in love with who I thought Martell was. I didn't ask to be anybody's side piece." That admission offered a rare glimpse into her perspective, not as a villain, but as someone caught between illusion and reality. But the story didn't end when the truth surfaced. Even after Melody walked away, Orion and Martell's relationship didn't dissolve. It deepened and complicated, especially once a child became part of the picture. That moment changed everything. What was once a secret affair became a permanent bond. And from then on, every decision Orion made was scrutinized through the lens of that relationship. Every Instagram post, every cryptic caption, every surge of emotion online, all became evidence in the court of public opinion. Fans dissected her words. Critics mocked her pain. And when the word concubine resurfaced again recently, Something inside her snapped. This time, her response wasn't subdued or strategic, it was raw. She went live, visibly emotional and unfiltered, her voice trembling between anger and heartbreak. "I'm tired of being disrespected," she said. "Y'all keep calling me a concubine like I'm not human, like I didn't have real feelings for that man. You think I wanted my life to turn into a circus? I was lied to, manipulated, and used. And somehow, I'm the only one carrying the shame." For once, her tone wasn't defensive, it was wounded. Her words hit different because they peeled back years of pretending to be unaffected. Beneath the glamorized photos and carefully worded captions, there was a woman still scarred by public ridicule. Her outburst spread fast. Within hours, blogs and YouTube commentators had clipped and analyzed every second. The internet buzzed with opinions, some empathizing, others ridiculing. But for Martell Holt, the timing couldn't have been worse. As he tried to repair his image and move forward, Arian's public unraveling reopened old wounds, resurrecting the scandal that had nearly ended his career and marriage. Yet beneath all the noise, Arian's frustration represents something much bigger than her personal feud. It exposes a double standard that society rarely confronts. When men cheat, they're often excused, even redeemed. But the women, especially the so-called other women, are branded for life. Their mistakes become their identity. Orion Curry is living proof of that imbalance. No matter what she's done to rebuild, from launching her business to trying to carve out a new chapter, she's still trapped in the shadow of her past. Every time her name trends, it's tethered to Martell Holt, and judging by her latest eruption, she's finally had enough. It's almost poetic. The very word that was meant to humiliate Orion Curry has now become the spark behind her loudest moment yet. Concubine, a label once thrown at her like a weapon, has instead pushed her to reclaim her voice, even if it means reopening the wounds she's spent years trying to close. And here's where things take an unexpected turn. According to those close to her, Arian's latest eruption might not be as impulsive as it looks. Some believe it's a deliberate move, a calculated attempt to seize control of her story, before anyone else has the chance to twist it. Again, but before we unpack what she might be planning next, and how Martell Holt is reportedly reacting behind the scenes, it's important to understand how this moment has flipped the balance of power between them entirely. When Arian's fiery Instagram Live hit the internet, it didn't land like just another emotional rant. It struck like a digital earthquake. Within hours, major gossip blogs were reposting clips. YouTube commentators were breaking down her every word. And hashtags featuring Martell Holt's name started trending all over again. Not for his latest business deal or reality TV appearance, but because of the woman he's spent years trying to keep out of the public eye. For Martell, this is the kind of attention he fears most. The scandal he's tried to distance himself from has once again come roaring back, dragging his reputation and family history into the spotlight he can't seem to escape. And this time, the storm wasn't stirred up by critics or co-stars, it was ignited by Orion herself. The very person he once described as a private part of my life. Asterisk behind closed doors. Sources claim Martell was furious. One insider allegedly revealed that he reached out to Orion directly, urging her to delete the livestream or stop mentioning his name altogether. Reportedly, his words were desperate. "You're ruining what little peace I have left." But Orion didn't back down. If anything, she became even bolder. Soon after, she posted a cryptic message to her Instagram story that read, "You can't silence me anymore. I kept your secrets, and look where it got me." That single post set social media ablaze. Fans and bloggers alike began speculating. What secrets was she referring to? What hadn't she revealed yet? Could she really still be holding on to information that could shatter Martell's image all over again? The speculation fed the internet for days. Comment sections and podcast discussions filled with theories, some claiming she's sitting on explosive details about their relationship, others suggesting she might have business or personal receipts that could seriously damage Martell's already fragile reputation, and the timing couldn't be worse for him. Martell has been working tirelessly to reshape his public persona from unfaithful husband to reformed father and businessman. His recent interviews and appearances have been carefully managed to highlight growth, accountability, and family. But with Orion back in the spotlight, those efforts are starting to unravel. Fans have flooded his comment sections with reminders of his past, writing things like, "Here we go again." Martell can't escape his mess. What's most fascinating, though, is how completely the roles have reversed. For years, Orion was the one being dragged through the mud, insulted, dismissed, and mocked. But now, Martell is the one scrambling to contain the fallout. Her outburst shifted the power dynamic in a way few saw coming. She's no longer the quiet figure orbiting his scandal, she's the one driving the narrative, commanding attention, and speaking on her own terms. Every post she makes, every word she says now ripples across social media. Whether people support her or not, they're tuned in. And for the first time, she's setting the tone of the conversation, not Martell, not Melody, not the fans. But the situation runs deeper than just internet drama. Insiders claim Martell is worried, deeply worried about what might come next. They say he fears Arian's anger could spill into full-blown exposure. Details that were never shown on camera, moments from their private life, or even business dealings that could come back to haunt him. And those fears might not be unfounded. Arian's cryptic hints about keeping secrets have only intensified public curiosity. While Martell is trying to maintain his composure publicly, those close to him say the pressure is taking its toll. He knows his past has already cost him plenty. His marriage, credibility, and even business opportunities. Another scandal could be catastrophic for the image he's so carefully rebuilding. Meanwhile, Orion appears to be leaning into this moment of resurgence. She's been posting more frequently about authenticity, truth, and self-expression. Some fans suspect that something bigger is on the horizon, perhaps an interview, a podcast, or even a tell-all book. If true, that could permanently shift how the public views both her and Martell. Because this time, Arian isn't reacting to the narrative, she's rewriting it. And if she decides to lift the veil completely, the world might finally see a version of the story that's never been told. But the most intriguing rumor yet, some say Arian's meltdown might actually be a strategic move. Reports suggest that she's been in quiet talks with producers interested in bringing her back to reality television. This time, not as someone's secret, but as her own fully realized persona. If that's true, then her recent outburst wasn't the collapse of a woman under pressure, it was the beginning of a comeback. And with that, the story takes on a new dimension. For years, Arian Curry was the unseen villain in someone else's story. Now, she just might be preparing to become the author of her own. For the first time in years, public opinion around Arian Curry began to shift subtly, but noticeably. Viewers who once mocked or dismissed her started to see something different in her recent outburst, not defiance but pain. Under reposted clips of her Instagram Live, comments began to tell a new story. "You can tell she's been holding this in for years," one person wrote. Another added, "She's not angry, she's hurt." Even some of Melody Holt's most loyal supporters, who had long viewed Orion as the enemy, began to acknowledge that the years of constant ridicule and online bullying might have gone too far. For the first time, the conversation was expanding beyond simple labels like homewrecker or mistress. It was becoming more nuanced, more human. Reality TV analysts and social media commentators noted that audiences seem to be evolving. Many are tired of the double standards that surround stories like this. In one viral thread, a user summed it up bluntly: "We love to demonize the mistress, but glorify the man who created the situation. Martell cheated for years, lied on national TV, and still gets sympathy. Meanwhile, Orion can't post a single thing without getting dragged." That post alone received thousands of likes and shares, a sign that, for the first time, people were beginning to see both sides of the story. Of course, not everyone is ready to forgive. Critics still argue that Arian made her choices knowingly and helped dismantle a family. For them, her emotional outbursts feel less like healing and more like manipulation. Another calculated move to stay relevant. "She knows what she's doing," one commenter wrote under a Shade Room repost. "Every time the show gets good ratings or Martell gets positive attention, suddenly Arian has something to say." But others see something entirely different, a woman who's finally refusing to be silenced. After years of being labeled everything from homewrecker to concubine, Orion appears to be taking control of her own narrative, even if it means burning bridges to do it. As one YouTube blogger put it, "She's been everyone's scapegoat for too long. Now she's saying, if I'm going down, I'm telling my side first." And that's what makes this moment so significant. The tone of the entire conversation has changed. When Orion first became a public figure, her name was synonymous with scandal, but now, her story is being discussed in a broader cultural context, one that touches on emotional manipulation, accountability, and the way society continues to judge women more harshly than men in stories of infidelity. It's no longer just gossip. It's a mirror reflecting how we, as an audience, treat women who make mistakes, especially when those mistakes involve love, loyalty, and betrayal. Public sympathy for Ariane has grown largely because of how raw she's become. Her recent posts are markedly different from the polished, defiant ones of years past. The cryptic captions and glamorous selfies have been replaced with messages about healing, self-worth, and breaking cycles. In one post, she wrote, "I've made mistakes, but I've learned. I'm not the same woman I was 5 years ago." That single line resonated with people who have watched her unravel and rebuild herself in real time. Even some media outlets that once mocked her have started softening their tone. A few now describe her behavior not as attention-seeking but as the exhaustion of a woman who's been publicly shamed for too long. Others have gone further, questioning whether the show's portrayal of her and Martell's long-standing narrative unfairly contributed to her ongoing persecution. It's a remarkable transformation, what some are now calling Ariane's redemption arc. Still, skepticism lingers. Some viewers believe Ariane's vulnerability is as strategic as it is emotional. They argue that every tear, every late-night live stream, and every cryptic post could be part of a larger plan, a way to pivot from public shame to public sympathy. And in the ever-evolving world of reality TV and influencer culture, that theory isn't far-fetched. Rumors have been swirling for months that Ariane has been in quiet talks with several production companies, this time, though she wouldn't return as someone's secret or supporting character, but as the lead in her own narrative. According to insiders, she's received multiple offers for interviews and tell-all specials over the years, each promising her a chance to set the record straight. She turned them all down until now. If the whispers are true, this could mark a defining moment in Ariane Curry's journey. A well-produced interview, a podcast series, or even a memoir could do more than just rewrite her public image. It could finally give her the space to tell her story with depth, control, and dignity. For years, her name has been filtered through tabloids, edited confessionals, and other people's opinions. This might be her chance to speak without interruption. And in today's era of media redemption, that matters more than ever. Audiences have grown weary of one-dimensional villains. People are increasingly drawn to transparency, vulnerability, and authenticity, traits that once got buried beneath Ariane's scandal. Viewers no longer want perfection. They want truth. And Ariane, whether by design or by genuine evolution, seems to be offering exactly that. Consider the redemption arcs we've seen before, from reality stars and musicians to public figures once written off by society. The formula is always the same. A public fall, a period of silence, followed by a comeback grounded in emotional honesty. When handled right, it can be powerful, even transformative. Ariane's situation fits neatly into that mold, but with a unique twist. Her story isn't about fame lost and regained, it's about reclaiming her humanity. After years of being dehumanized, if she does move forward with a tell-all, it could be more than a sensational expose. It could serve as a cultural case study in how women are vilified in the court of public opinion. It could unpack what it means to be entangled in a public scandal, where love, power, and perception collide. And more importantly, it could show the emotional cost of being the other woman, not just to the people involved, but to oneself. Rion has hinted before that she felt unheard, unseen, and misrepresented. "People think they know me," she once said during an Instagram Live, "but they only know what they were told to believe." That single statement reveals the heart of her current transformation. She's not just fighting for forgiveness, she's fighting for agency, for the right to define herself, rather than be defined by others. Insiders say she's been working with branding professionals and publicists to rebuild her image in a more intentional way, one focused on self-growth, womanhood, and empowerment. It's not about erasing the past, but reframing it. And that's what makes her next move so potentially impactful. If she manages to tell her story without bitterness, if she can balance accountability with emotional truth, she could transition from controversy to credibility almost overnight. Social media, which once tore her apart, might actually become her greatest tool. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and podcasts have given public figures the ability to bypass traditional media and speak directly to their audience. For someone like Ariane, who's been silenced and misrepresented by edited narratives, that direct connection could be revolutionary. A well-timed project, a documentary, podcast, or even a raw sit-down interview could flip the script entirely. Imagine her sitting across from a respected interviewer, calmly unpacking years of judgment and revealing details the public never knew, not in anger, but in clarity. That kind of transparency can change public perception in an instant, not because it erases mistakes, but because it humanizes them. And that's where Ariane's true power lies now. For so long, her identity has been reduced to scandal, to whispers and rumors. But in owning her story, she reclaims control. She's no longer reacting to narratives. She's writing them. And as the conversation around women, accountability, and emotional trauma continues to evolve, Arian's story could become a symbol of that cultural shift. In a world that feeds on downfall but craves redemption, Arian Curry stands on the edge of both. If she's truly ready to open up, not just for sympathy, but for truth, she could turn one of reality TV's darkest scandals into one of its most surprising comebacks. And this time, for once, she wouldn't just be part of the story, she'd be the author of it.